From Iron Michael questioning where the F McGregor's been, to the suits potentially cutting him off, this is how UFC fighters have reacted to Conor McGregor missing USADA tests. The McGregor comeback saga is in full swing, and it just keeps getting messier. Conor is supposed to make his return to the UFC later in 2023 against Michael Chandler, but the Irish fighter's refusal to enter USADA's drug testing pool could throw a wrench in their plans. You see, before McGregor can step back into the octagon, he must complete 6 months of random drug testing by USADA. Since it's already July and Con still hasn't sent in samples, that could push his bout with Chandler to early 2024, or with the way things have been going, even later than that. Mike obviously wasn't too happy when he caught wind of this and took to social media to vent his frustrations. He put up a 20-second video on Twitter to address the whole situation. And while that seems like a short time to discuss something like this, Chandler didn't hold back and made it clear that he's done with Conor's BS. He mockingly captioned the video asking where the McGregor was. Oh, how the tables have turned. He also brought up the fact that 2023's final UFC pay-per-view is only 179 days away, before asking Conor, "Where you at, boy?" Oof, even I felt that burn. And the fans did too, because they were quick to jump on this. One popular boxing handle suggested that Conor McGregor is scared of competing because he's too busy attacking women in bathrooms. Ouch! And another joked that McGregor's still on Dana White's PDs. That's not the end of it, though. Chandler also mentioned that while USADA's conveniently been avoiding McGregor, they decided to pay him a surprise visit. Talk about adding insult to injury. Fans who've been closely following this saga will already know how this played out, but in case you don't, let me paint the picture. Mike was doing a push-up challenge on Instagram Live when USADA showed up at his house, forcing him to stop the stream. Later, he posted an update to his Twitter account, explaining that they'd come to collect his blood and urine samples, like they've been doing for the last 3 years straight. Did you catch that jab at Conor there? Now, to be fair, McGregor didn't just drop out of USADA's drug testing pool for no reason. He first left the program after that infamous leg break in his trilogy bout against Dustin Poirier. The man wanted his bones to heal and needed some drugs to do that, so he temporarily removed himself from the testing pool. No problem, right? Well, here's where the trouble comes in. He also got super jacked during this time, which has made a lot of people suspicious. Plus, the way he's been relentlessly avoiding tests ever since doesn't do him any favors. I mean, let's be real here, the situation isn't looking all that great. How does a guy pack on that much muscle mass in such a ridiculously short amount of time? It's like he's been chugging protein shakes laced with magic beans or something. Even the pros are raising their eyebrows, whispering about McGregor's mysterious diet, and avoiding USADA like it's a hot potato only makes him look more suspicious. But there might be a perfectly reasonable explanation for this, if you're willing to believe Chael Sonnen. The UFC vet believes the only reason Con's been holding off testing is paperwork. Yep, according to a YouTube video the American Gangster put out back in May, paperwork isn't something that magically gets done in the blink of an eye. It's a whole process with its own speed bumps and delays. Sonnen thinks that despite his burning desire to get back in the game, McGregor's stuck in this frustrating loop of waiting for the bureaucratic wheels to turn. If it was up to him, he'd have bulldozed through the paperwork and hopped right into the octagon with zero hesitation. I'm not so sure about that, but I'll let it slide. What I can't let slide, though, is the way Dana White's been treating his whole thing. The UFC boss has made it clear he no longer gives a about what McGregor does. He said so during the post-fight press conference at UFC 286. According to White, he doesn't know anything about what's going on with Con, and he doesn't plan on finding out anytime soon. He's left the whole thing up to McGregor and USADA and wants no part in this raging war. This is a little weird since Dana likes to stick his nose in everything, especially when it's got something to do with his top fighters. So him taking this Zen approach that jeopardizes one of the biggest fights of the year doesn't make a lot of sense. And while it looks like Dana's deflecting responsibility here, what else can the guy do? Conor does what he wants, when he wants, and no amount of pressure from the top will make him change his mind. So maybe Chandler can change his. A lot of fans have been suggesting this. And if you think about it, they're right. There's no reason for Mike to keep waiting around for Conor, because let's be real, there's no guarantee that the Irishman will ever get tested. One Twitter user told Chandler that there was no point in him waiting around for Conor. and said that it's clear that the fight'll never happen. Other people chimed in on the convo, with one fan telling Mike to stop wasting his prime preying on a fight with the Irishman, and another saying that he's been officially ducked. UFC lightweight contender Arman Tsarukyan isn't buying into the hype of a Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler showdown either. In a fiery Twitter post, Tsarukyan took a jab at Chandler for still believing he'll step into the ring with the Notorious. Not only that, Arman also brought up the matter during his post-fight interview with Paul Felder. The 26-year-old confidently called out Chandler to fight him and dismissed any hopes that fans might have had of his match with McGregor actually happening. This only makes sense. The UFC needs to keep its options open in case McGregor versus Chandler doesn't happen, which, let's be honest, looks very likely right now. Plus, it's not like Conor's shown any real interest in coming back. BKFC, boxing, Hollywood, you name it, McGregor is doing it. The Notorious has been having a pretty tough time saying no to anything lately, but hey, as long as he's the center of attention, it's all good for Conor. But again, if he's going to be so nonchalant about his UFC career, maybe the promotion, its fans, and Mike should stop waiting up on him. One fan voiced an unpopular opinion, claiming that Dana White knew all along that McGregor would miss the deadline and was just being greedy by letting him coach TUF. Ouch. Shots fired. Another fan had a different perspective and called Conor a joke. It's harsh, but it seems like the Irish fighter's star power is fading, but his string of loyal fans refuses to believe so since they think Conor does what the he wants. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but it is true. Hold your horses though, because there might still be a glimmer of hope for McGregor. You see, there's this thing called exceptions in the USADA handbook. It says that in exceptional circumstances, or when strictly sticking to the rules would be grossly unfair, the UFC can grant an exemption to the 6-month notice rule. Brock Lesnar took advantage of this rule when he fought at UFC 200. Now the spotlight's on Conor McGregor, and fans are wondering if he'll get the same treatment. Some argue for fairness, saying if Lesnar got a chance, so should Conor. But the thing is, McGregor's missed deadline makes this a whole different ballgame. So USADA might handle things differently this time. Plus, there's another catch. Conor would need to provide at least 2 negative samples before he can make his return to the octagon. Of course, fans are quick to express their outrage. One fan simply couldn't understand why being Conor McGregor doesn't automatically grant him the privilege to jump back in and fight whenever he pleases. And let's not forget the official tweet from USADA earlier in 2023 confirming Conor's comeback. They said he would be submitting his paperwork and re-entering the testing pool immediately. But here we are, still waiting for any sign of Conor's presence. Matchmakers and promoters in the UFC take stuff like this very seriously, and Khan's repeated negligence can raise questions about his commitment and overall reliability as a professional athlete. This isn't just about his performance inside the octagon anymore. The repercussions go far beyond that. The Irishman's image and marketability are also at stake. Sponsors and business ventures associated with the UFC are closely monitoring the situation. They prefer to align themselves with clean-cut fighters who maintain a positive reputation. And if McGregor keeps going on the path he's on right now, he'll not only be jobless, he'll be broke too. So there you have it, fight fans, from the suits potentially cutting him off to Iron Michael questioning where the F McGregor's been. This was UFC fighters reacting to Conor McGregor missing USADA tests.